When you get beat, you are taught something. I cannot say this enough. When you get beat in Tarkov, you learn something. You learn where somebody sat, how they beat you, where the shot came from. You pay attention to what it was around you that you neglected. Oh, I guess we're back again. Okay, so we're going to talk about Tarkov? Okay, let's talk about Tarkov. Fair warning, this one's going to be a little ranty, so if you'd rather not watch a boomer complain about stuff, feel free to just move the hell on. I mean, it's free country. You got yourself a mouse. Go ahead and clicky away. And I look forward to the trollsy comments in the comments section, because I know that there's going to be like 5 of you guys that are going to end up saying something about my KS23 usage with the same 6 things that you have a tendency to say every single time that I post a video when you want to say something negative. So it's either stupid haircut, KS23 memes, landmark clean clout chase, cried about Tarkov rivals, bad at video games. So there, I did it for you. Sweet. Okay. Really looking forward to something new. I know you got it in you. I know you do. And here's the part of the video where somebody would complain that I'm mad instead of just laughing at the dumb stuff. But I digress. So there is this overwhelming amount of animosity toward people that play slowly still. And there probably still will be for some time to come, because people have a tendency to not be able to get out of their own way, and they need to blame something else other than themselves. But more on that in a second, I think. This animosity, something came to me today that I think ends up kind of tapping into the crux of it all. Because Tarkov's main descriptor is that Tarkov is a survival-based shooter. And I want to talk about the core of that. People are going to continue to gatekeep whether or not people are W key players or whether people play quietly and all of that stuff. And I think that the iteration of the game where it is right now is the thing that ends up causing people to play a certain way. The only thing is that I don't necessarily understand the logic behind complaining about how other people play. You have people that will say the Tarkov economy is too fast. The leveling is too quick. It's too easy to get really, really good stuff. The game needs to be more punishing. And because you have access to all of that stuff, you would think that the people that end up dying in Tarkov, regardless of how they die, wouldn't necessarily get as heated as if they would if the game were more restrictive. But it seems like it's the exact opposite. You have people that are W key players that get beaten by a quiet player, rat, if you want to call it that. And then at the same time, you'll also have people that are the quiet players that might have made a little bit of noise, giving themselves away, and then the W key guy comes around the corner and gets them with the old peekers netcode advantage kind of gameplay. And that ends up triggering the guy that was camping saying Peeker's advantage is a problem. And I think that most people agree that Peeker's advantage is a problem, but they only agree to it in the extent that they think it's going to help them. And I think that that is really what it comes down to when it comes to Tarkov and how people are perceiving what gameplay in this game should be. The survival-based aspect of Tarkov, I think, is the thing that people do not focus on enough. And the thing that the devs are going to focus on and continue to focus on, and are going to try and make the game more punishing. Because that's the common thread. If you look at any other game in the genre of something that is referred to as survival, there are games like Rust, which is the most obvious thing that comes to mind, because Rust is kind of a gun game, right? It just has building mechanics and the like. And in the same vein of Rust, you have games like Ark, Conan Exiles, Scum. The list goes on and on. H1Z1, DayZ, and all of them have their own little twist. Well, rest in peace, H1Z1. I mean, you had your time. And all of those things have like their own uniquities. In the case of Conan Exiles, it's not really a gun game because the most that you get out of that is going to be a bow. But in the case of something like Ark, you can advance toward tech stuff and, riding dinos and all of that stuff. And the game looks stupid on the surface, but it's actually hyper involved. And the PvP official community is extremely busy, and people are always online playing that game. And even though it is relatively small in the mega tribe side of things, that game is always hopping. And there's always something to do. The thing with a game like Ark or Scum or DayZ or Conan Exiles or Rust is that there is one major difference between that and Tarkov, and that is permanence. In the case of something like Rust, yes, they wipe the servers, but in something like Ark, all of the servers are permanent for the most part. There aren't server wipes. The game doesn't start over. The game just kind of continues on. When they come out with a new map, tribes will go and populate a new map to claim it as their own, and that server just ends up becoming part of a larger network of servers that they collectively own together, whereby they end up having bases on each individual different map on each server type, which are all networked together, and then there ends up being like these large server-based battles to lay claim to one of those Ark servers as time goes on. The thing is, though, is that in a game like Ark, if you're not part of that and you decide that you're going to try and play the game yourself on a PvP official server with maybe 3 or 4 friends, you start building up a base, and then a week later, you wake up one morning and the entire thing is gone. It disappears. What happened? Well, the server didn't decide to just wipe everybody out. Somebody else from a different server or from the server that you're residing on decided that they were going to disintegrate your entire base, kill all of you, and then bomb all of your shit into the Stone Age. So the only thing that you end up having left when you wake up the next morning is the skin on your back, not even so much as a loincloth, and you get to start over. The only thing that you get to keep is the levels that you earned along the way, and the technology that you now hold the keys to be able to then rebuild from nothing. And that is the crux of what a survival game is about. Overtaking others, survival of the fittest, if you want to think about it that way, some Darwinist stuff, and then at the same time defending what it is that you have from would-be attackers, because if you get attacked, you could lose everything. So people are careful. They hide things. They stash stuff in different areas. They make sure that not everything that they hold near and dear to their heart is located in one particular place. Because if somebody ends up getting their way into a base that, let's say, is years established, they could literally reset someone's progress back to day one. And that is not something that you want. Now, the thing is, Tarkov doesn't have that. Tarkov isn't a game where you have to worry about whether or not somebody can get to your stash. You have everything. The only thing that you run the risk of losing is what you wore into that raid that one time. And I can, inside of 10 minutes, teach a brand new player how to make at least 1,000,000 rubles an hour. I've been doing it on this YouTube channel over the last month alone and proving that it is something that anyone is capable of doing as long as they know the route. And there are plenty of resources available. So again, what's the issue? The issue is that people don't like losing. Tarkov doesn't feel enough like a survival-based game to where people feel compelled to have to be careful. So if they die in a game where they feel like they don't need to be careful, all of a sudden somebody took a cheap shot because that isn't the status quo or the meta right now. And now we have a cat. Oreo is trying to tell you that you need to stop being such a little sissy la-la about it. The thing is that the sense of loss associated with Tarkov isn't severe enough to make people want to change their mode of thinking in order to befit what the devs are trying to do. And that is the problem. Just for the sake of argument, imagine if the stash that you had in your own hideout was shared with 3 or 4 other guys. And at any given point in time, anyone could break into your hideout and steal your stuff if you weren't there to defend it. You would be trying to find people that could be up around the clock. When you slept, other people were covering your butt. When they slept, you were online to be able to cover their butt because you wanted to make sure that you could react accordingly if somebody tried to blow into your base and take your things, which Tarkov doesn't do. You have the safety of your hideout. And money, right now especially, has never been easier. If you are running around on a map and die, what was the mistake? It wasn't necessarily that the devs didn't provide you with enough gear, because most people agree that money is super easily made in Tarkov. If they think that money comes hard in Tarkov, all they have to do is learn a loot route and they're good, right? We can all say that. Instead, what seems to happen is that regardless of how much money, rubles, gear, thick eye cases, whatever people have, they will still bitch to no end because someone ended up catching them off guard from an angle they weren't expecting. The guy that is enticed because of the abundance of stuff that shift W keys all over maps ends up getting caught by somebody that hears them running down the hall like a Clydesdale and does what the survival-based genre had taught them to do. Because guys that have come from games like Ark and Scum and Rust don't bitch about slow players. You know who complains about slow players? The dudes that grew up playing COD and the dudes that grew up playing PUBG and Fortnite. Because you can see people coming a mile away, people are spongy, and there's these heads-up fights where you saw what was coming and were able to react to it accordingly, and then if you beat them, got to call them trash. And that just doesn't happen that much in Tarkov. Doesn't happen as often. So what's the fix? In my opinion, stop complaining. Play the game. You're going to get beat. When you get beat, you are taught something. I cannot say this enough. When you get beat in Tarkov, you learn something. You learn where somebody sat, how they beat you, where the shot came from. You pay attention to what it was around you that you neglected. And then the next time that you end up coming through that same hallway or going around that same corner, you know where to look. You're going to keep your ears open. You're going to be more careful. Somebody has a common tendency to sit in this corner, so I'm going to make sure that I approach it and look in that direction. If you end up walking in the middle of a field and get shot from who knows where, don't walk in the middle of a field anymore. You sprint between cover. There's 1,000,001 things in Tarkov that will punish you. And I'm sorry, but at 500 hours, 1,000 hours, even 2,000 hours, you're not going to learn them all. It just won't happen. The only way that you get there is by playing it, and then by reevaluating either in real time or after the fact what it was that was going on, what you heard, and how you're going to deal with that again in the future. And if you get got, you have to try and evaluate how you yourself can be better at those things. LeBron James ends up dunking on a guy. Dunks on him, right? Does he blame LeBron for having worked out a lot and having better genetic disposition and practice his ass off for the last 30 years of his life, and that's why he got dunked on and LeBron's an asshole? No. He tries to figure out, like, okay, next time he tries to drive down the lane, I'm going to take another half step to the left. I'm going to try and block off that lane so that he can't get over the top of me. I'm going to engage him sooner. Take a step forward. Push him off of the lane. People could argue that Bron can't be stopped, but they evaluate how they can play better. They don't criticize how mechanics are designed in order to be able to punish them, and they want the game to change as opposed to changing or improving upon themselves. Internalize their own failures. That's probably the biggest issue right now in the entire game. If people started internalizing the things that went wrong and realized, like, oh, I could do things to adjust for this, blame yourself. Don't be blaming other people for wrecking you. It ain't their fault. It's not anybody else's fault that you were stupid. You were stupid, and that's why you died. Sorry. That's just how it is. Come watch a stream. You think I'm lying? Come watch a stream. Almost never do I end up blaming anybody else. I die, I say, nice shot, GG, and then I think about what I could have done different. That's just how it is. Start evaluating yourselves, boys. All right? All right, I'm done ranting. Chad superiority is pussy shit. Stop it. It doesn't matter. Just play the game. Be smarter. Be smarter and you'll die less. Bitch more and it won't change. Just saying. All right. Peace.